Hey everyone, Jamie Taylor here. I'm the AFL's insurance broker from Marsh. COVID-19 set a whole new set of rules for how we work and play. I've been playing my role behind the scenes, working closely with insurers to find the answers to all your questions. I get you, it's tough out there. I personally sit on the board at the Werribee Football Club and know how you're feeling at the moment. I'm also a junior coach at St Joseph's Football and Netball Club. There's so much information flying around at the moment. Every day it seems like there's more questions to answer. Sue Cormack is one of those people asking all the right questions. She's one of the COVID-19 officers at my local club, St Joseph's Football and Netball Club. In this video, we'll shed some light on the insurance topics covered in our recent memos we distributed to all AFL clubs and what it all means for you. All right, game on. Let's get into it. Hit me with your questions, Sue.
Well, the most important thing for our members is whether they're still covered or not. So is the AFL National Risk Protection Program still in play?
You bet, Sue. The AFL Public Liability Policy component of the National Risk Protection Program is still in full swing. It continues to provide cover to insured leagues and clubs. So many volunteers in clubs have really stepped up to ensure our clubs are taking reasonable precautions at their own expense to prevent personal injury and ultimately the spread of COVID-19. So keep following the advice of your league and AFL state bodies.
What about clubs who aren't playing to the rules, Jamie, and adhering really strictly to the COVID-19 protocols?
If clubs aren't following COVID-19 protocols and they are subject of a claim potentially, the claim payout might not be as much as they were banking on, or your cover could be in jeopardy altogether. Let's do everything we can to avoid those tough conversations by following the advice of the authorities.
What about personal accident cover?
Great call out, Sue. The number one thing you need to know is the personal accident component of the National Risk Protection Program does not provide any cover for sickness or illness. The cover only helps when old players like me get injured during the club sanctioned training or playing activities. That's why it's so important that players consider their own personal circumstances and understand what additional cover they may have or need for COVID-19 through Medicare, their own private health or life insurances and ambulance memberships.
We're seeing some of our leagues having to call full-time on the season, or they're cutting the season short. What insurances should clubs keep in their pocket?
No matter what happens, the leagues and clubs need to maintain the classic liability and property covers until the end of 2020 to minimise exposure. They are the best defence.
So if the season's cancelled or cut short, what sort of rebates would be available?
I thought you might ask that one, Sue. If you're eligible, any rebates will be calculated at the conclusion of the insurance season. This is when the cover concludes every year. This time period allows us to get the most accurate rebate. What we can confirm at this stage is that if the season is cancelled, there will be some form of rebate.
In the event of a league cancelling, I'm sure lots of teams would want to keep training or playing against other teams or even having intra-club games. What do they need to think about?
So clubs and leagues need to sanction these activities for the cover to apply. Obviously, clubs can only sanction activity if it complies with government restrictions and follows advice from health authorities, their league, state body and the AFL, including implementing necessary procedures and protocol to ensure it is safe. Clubs and leagues then have to record all details of any sanctioned activity which takes place.
What about if someone has had a permit to play from another team because their league isn't continuing? Did their cover carry over?
Great question. We get a few of these queries. The cover you will be entitled to whilst playing at your new club will be at the higher level cover taken out between the two clubs.
So if we keep training and playing intra-club games, are players covered for injuries and the club covered for public liability in that case?
Yes, correct. They're still subject to the same terms and conditions and exclusions of the cover that they've always had.
So what other impacts has COVID-19 had on public liability for clubs and leagues?
The good news is there's no infectious disease / COVID-19 exclusion on the public liability policy. If you are found to be negligent or legally liable for failing to protect other persons or third parties from infection, you need to ask whether the infection occurred during the insurance year, within Australia and in connection with the community football operations and activities. We're counting on clubs and associations to take all reasonable precautions to prevent infection.
What about business interruption?
That's what we call the Asset Protect property insurance policy. This policy generally excludes claims arising from COVID-19, meaning any loss of revenue won't be covered under that policy.
So what can clubs and associations do to minimise the potential spread of COVID-19?
The number one priority is to keep following the advice and recommendations of your league and AFL state bodies. Number two, we've been putting in club hygiene measures ourselves, as you're aware. No more sharing of drink bottles, when cleaning equipment after use, or even providing sanitary products. Three, I know you're now the expert of good hygiene and keeping a distance from others, like us right now, but what should people do if they are sick?
Look, we insist that if people are sick, even with the mildest symptoms, they need to go and get tested and isolate until they've got the result. And for everyone else at the club, we put really stringent hygiene measures in place, washing and sanitising hands with soap and water or alcohol-based products. The odd cough and sneeze into the elbow, and disposing of any tissues or anything using alcohol-based sanitiser after a cough or eating or leaving the ground. Exercising, social distancing as much as we can. We also really just remind our players all the time to exercise personal responsibility for social distancing when they can, and we limit the number of adults on the ground or on the bench, so just a coach and a runner for us. And of course, most importantly, we insist that if anyone or a member of a household are at high risk or they're showing any signs of illness, that they don't participate in any club activities until they're well. And if they are unwell, and they think they've got COVID symptoms, they need to tell the doctor about the symptoms, they need to talk about their travel history, and importantly, any close contact they've had with someone who has tested positive. And then if we have any other things, if we're sick, it's really important to let us know so that we can let other people know that might have come in contact. I'm interested too, though, who do you think is the most risk of serious health outcomes from this infection?
So let's break that down into the top three. So number one is people with compromised immune systems. Two would be the elderly people. And three, people with diagnosed chronic medical conditions. However, with that said, we also know that 20 to 30-year-olds are infected at some of the highest rates. So it's also important everyone is following the protocols to control the spread of COVID-19.
Yeah. How can clubs stay ahead of the game with regards to their insurance?
For the most timely information and guidance on the National Risk Protection Program and COVID-19, continue to check your inbox as updates land and the situation evolves. Remember, we're here for you. Your first port of call should be 1300 130 373 or email us on sport@marsh.com.
I think we might have to call it there, Jamie, but thanks for that. And we know time's really, really precious for everyone, but I wish all the clubs and leagues well, and stay safe, everyone.
Thanks, Sue. On behalf of the Marsh team, we look forward to kicking goals with you for many years to come. Speak soon, and best wishes for a fun, safe and memorable return to the game. If 2020 isn't your year, see you in 2021. Thank you.